Welcome to another episode of Inside with Outsiders. My name is Jeremy Asgari, and today we have a special guest, a good friend of mine. He's a life performance optimizer. I really hope I got that right. His name is Garnett Strother. Welcome.
Wow, you did that really well.
Did I?
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I've had some practice. Sorry for moving the chair, Bams. He yells at me when I do that.
Don't do that.
I know. So, you actually are a very interesting friend of mine.
Thanks.
You've had a lot of ups and downs like many of us, but I feel like you've accomplished a whole lot with, what was given to you. And not to make it sound too cliche, but you really made something out of nothing. I mean, not nothing entirely, but I'm saying like you.
Oh, no, it was nothing. I agree.
Let me give a little heads up about Garnett. He's also a mixed martial arts fighter, right?
I am.
So when he doesn't laugh, I get a little nervous.
I feel like, visually speaking, I look like an 80s villain, but like, you know me, I'm not.
No.
Like, I'm the warmest guy that I know of, but like,
You hang out with fighters.
Yeah, but they're like the sweetest people.
I know, I'm just
I don't know what it, like, because I don't associate fighting with anger. You know what I mean? Like, it's not an angry profession. You can't be angry and get in there. You got to be focused. And I don't think that, that aggression, that part that you have to tap into when you have to perform, is the same thing that Michael Jordan has to tap into. The same thing that Kobe had to tap into. Right. You got to have that killer instinct, and that has nothing to do with like this fight or flight response that most people kind of associate.
That's interesting because most people, when they're fighting, it's because of anger or self-defense or whatever it be. But when it's a sport, it's a totally different dynamic, right?
No. You want to kind of be in a dance, like this flow state where you're receiving new information from your opponent or your dance partner and using it to your advantage, because he's giving you all these nonverbal cues and this communication is happening that's within a fight, and that's what I love the most. I love that part. I want to crush the person that's in front of me psychologically by reading what they're giving me. I want to envelop their mind with so much chaos that they don't know what's happening, and that's how you win. It's not about
when they say it's a chess game. In fact, that's what you want to be a few steps ahead, right?
You want to be 17. You want to be the fight starts at the weigh-ins. Like, it doesn't even start.
Really?
Yeah.
I know we don't usually jump in right away into what you're doing, but this is an interesting conversation. Where does it start in the weigh-in? How do you start the mental games then?
Well, you watch guys like Conor McGregor, and they're very, they start talking shit on Twitter now. When you're a professional fighter, you have footage of you, so you can really study your opponent's mannerisms. You're not studying their basic striking necessarily, because we all have two hands and two legs.
Right.
There's nothing different that's going to happen, right? But what is different is their mannerisms. When they hit you, how do they respond? Are they congratulate themselves by wiping their nose, right?
That's a congratulatory move.
Oh yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, when someone just like you hit them and they're like, okay, I got this motherfucker. You want to watch and pay attention to that.
I thought their nose was running. I'm not making a joke. I think when you're, I didn't realize.
Yeah, man, there's all these nonverbal cues that happens of like, my favorite is the single arm shrug. When someone tells you, hey man, did you like the movie? And you're like, yeah. That is indicative of someone that's obviously not congruent. They're not telling the whole truth here. They want to tell you what they think is true. And sometimes that happens in fighting too. They get hit and then they want to act like it didn't hurt. They'll just kind of go, Yeah.
Let me ask you. You took a course on a technique on communication, right? What was that called?
It was called Neuro Linguistic Programming, NLP. Yeah.
And how helpful and beneficial has that been in the ring?
It's been game changing.
Because it's not just verbal communication, but it's overall body language and so on.
It's everything. It's literally how we map our reality in our mind. It's how you see things. When you see someone that uses their hands, you're Persian, or you're Italian, or Puerto Rican. When someone says like, "Oh my God, you gotta see this movie. It's incredible. The people over here, they look great. The people they're marking their reality. This is how they see their reality in their brain. They're telling you with their hands." So it's literally like the heads-up display in like Iron Man. Take that for example. Like that's where they place their information in their brain. It's the study of all that, and just more subtle stuff like how to influence people to listen to you by speaking their language. So it all starts with listening. listening to other people.
Okay, well, I want to get more into this.
Sorry, I keep smacking this thing out of the Wing Chun on the fucking.
Don't be violent with the mic, please. So I do want to get back into this. This is really interesting to me, and I want to know about what your goals were learning this and getting this certification, and what you plan on doing in general moving forward. Mm-hmm. But I want to go back into your history.
Okay, cool.
If you're cool with that.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from an LES, baby. Let's go. Lower East Side all day. The 6th borough. Not Jersey City. I know y'all like to say that. But it's really the Lower East Side.
I know that's recently. There's a real estate company in Jersey City called the 6th Borough.
What?
I don't agree with
Y'all
it.
better holler at me. You understand?
No, wait. Well, why do you call LES 6th borough? It's within a borough.
We've been the 6th borough. Why is Harlem? It's not Manhattan, even though it is.
LES is
LES is LES. You got Basquiat. You got Rosario Dawson. John Leguizamo likes hanging out there. Yeah. He kind of claimed that place. You got your War. You got Andy Warhol. You got Fab Five Freddy. That was like CBGBs and like.
Well, LES is definitely the heart of a lot of the start of a lot of cultures.
Yeah,
I mean punk, right?
Yeah,
I don't know about
hardcore,
ska, which is punk, whatever. Hardcore,
hip hop. All the galleries that these people went to were in the
hip
Lower
hop.
East
I would
Side.
say was the Bronx, though.
Absolutely, hip hop definitely started at Cedar Avenue, right? But when it was discovered by MTV and made a global thing, it was because of Fab Five Freddy hanging out with like Madonna and like and that happened.
Blondie,
Debbie Harry.
Yeah.
All that stuff happened in the Lower East Side.
Yeah.
There's galleries that took place out there, all these parties that happened out there, that happened in LES. So it was like this like convergence of hip hop and rock and roll, which is like the epitome of what I am. It's like it's like it makes sense when you look at me. It's like, oh yeah, this guy's from the Lower East Side.
Yeah, it's funny because everyone reps their borough hard. Everyone shouts out, Brooklyn, Hard, whatever. Not even a borough, their neighborhood.
Yeah.
But LES, man, everyone from LES really reps it. Like Pat, we had Pat on. He was the first interview we had on the show. Okay. And he had a hat that said Pitt Street.
Yeah, I'm from Pitt Street.
There you go.
That's crazy.
That's our second Pitt Street.
That's
West.
Wild.
Yeah.
I'm from Granite Pitt.
But he grew up in on Pitt Street in like the late 70s, or in the 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, that was different.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that when you grew up in the late 80s, right, early 90s, it wasn't that much different. I mean, it was different, but it wasn't what it is now by any means.
Well, I had to deal with the aftermath of his generation. His generation was all gangs.
Yeah,
was all like horror, like straight horror show. It was dope. It was like pimps and like crazy shit. I had to go to school with all like the crack babies that were like the aftermath of all that, because at least they had like the arts in the 70s. There was so many like the Puerto Rican and Dominican influence back then was so prevalent that they had all these like free art programs that taught them how to play the guitar, the piano, sing, dance. By the time I came up, crack killed all of that shit. It was like, it's not safe to be outside really, but we're going to try and make it work. And a lot of programs got taken away and shut down during the Clinton administration and the Bush administration. So a lot of that stuff got killed. So there was really nowhere to go. So we had these zombies out in the street, and that's how I discovered hardcore and like punk and rap. It's because I was in the street and I was on St. Mark's hanging out, playing Third Strike, playing Street Fighter.
Right.
And then
is that, I mean, I was gonna say what was like growing up in that era in LES, but what did you do to stay out of trouble? Were you getting in trouble?
I was definitely getting in trouble. I was fighting a lot. I got a lot of fights. That's why. But also martial arts was everywhere. Like
the 80s.
Oh my God.
Course.
Yeah,
I mean,
man. People walk down the street with nunchucks. Like it was nothing. Like it was part of their outfit. It matched the outfit with the nunchucks back in the day. It was a different vibe. It was literally like The Last Dragon.
Yeah, I was gonna say Last Dragon.
It was literally like that. Like you watch a movie, everyone's watching a kung fu movie, motherfuckers talking, and
shout out to Ty-Mac, by the way.
Shout out to Ty-Mac.
Ty-Mac used to hang out with us.
He should. I don't know if he actually Ty-Mac's really good friends with my instructor who I got my black belt from.
Okay.
So it's a small world. Lower East Side, Ty-Mac.
Yeah.
His what's his coach's name? Oh my God.
Was he from LES?
No, but his coach is from the Lower East Side. He used to live there for a very long time. Ron Van Cleef.
Okay.
Chinese Goju. That's his coach is Ron Van Cleef. Ron Van Cleef basically put black martial artists on the map. Like he was like the first generation of like Moses Powell. Like he was like the first black people to get their hands on martial arts.
But how did he get involved in it?
They went to the military. You know, most people that learn karate, remember karate came here first in like the 60s during like in like the 40s. Like people went to World War II.
Yeah.
Right. Fought against Japan. Some people were stationed out there, and then they learned karate and judo. That's it. That's all the martial arts that's here.
Yeah.
Then Bruce Lee came over in the 60s and 70s and kind of introduced the world to Kung Fu. We're like, what the fuck is Kung Fu?
Yeah.
Bruce brought that over here. And then June Reed, Bruce's homie, brought Taekwondo over here.
Well, what exactly got you into it, and what did you get into first?
Gang violence, mostly.
No, I know, obviously you said you were fighting growing up a lot.
Yeah.
But like, when did you actually step into a dojo and learn the arts?
I was 7 years old, and I walked into Pitt Street, Hamilton Fish on Pitt Street.
Yeah.
There's a guy teaching free karate. And
did you walk up on your own, or did your parents put you in there?
I asked. I was like, "Yo, you want to take karate?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to learn some karate."
Oh, the guy asked you?
No, my mom was like, "You want to like you beating up your little brother and shit? You gotta take that out somewhere else." So I went there. I loved it. I just think my mom was just so busy, she just couldn't be consistent with it. I rediscovered it again when I was about 11 years old, and I just decided to teach myself. Actually, I just read everything I could on it in Barnes and Nobles. I spent 8 hours a day in Barnes and Nobles
really?
Just reading. Yeah, just reading philosophy, physiology, and psychology books when I was like 11 and until I was about 19.
Were you a good student in school?
Hell no.
No, the reason I asked is because they didn't think you were a problem child, like you weren't gonna.
Oh yeah.
I can kind of relate to that in the sense where I wasn't great at school until obviously not until I started taking courses that I enjoyed.
Correct.
But before that, my parents were worried about me.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was terrible in school. But
right.
There's things I was passionate about, like basketball, that I would like practice one little move for like 2 hours, 3 hours.
Same. Yeah.
And it's funny that I'm not sure if you experienced the worry of maybe being a problem child or bad at school or worried about what you can do in your life.
Oh yeah, I was the one that was going to jail for sure. My mom always brags that because one out of every 3 black men are in prison. She's like, I had exactly 3 boys, and none of them ended up in prison.
So you were the one that she thought was in prison.
Everyone thought. I had a kid at 17 also. We can get into that. I had my daughter when I was 17, and they were like, "Oh, we've seen this story before."
Yeah. What's your daughter's name?
Elizabeth. I think she's going by. Her middle name is Aries, so I think it's Aries Strother.
Okay.
She's going by that.
Okay.
She uses all the pronouns. I think she's also queer. She's just they, them.
Yeah.
He, she. So whatever. She's like, whatever, dude.
And your daughter's really cool. First off, she's fortunate to have a really cool, understanding father.
Thanks.
Like the fact that you had a kid at 17 years old, but you've taken the role of her primary caretaker, right?
Yeah. About 12 years now, I've been taking care of full time.
And she's 17?
She's going to be 20.
She'll be 20. Wow.
She's going to be 20 in February.
And you were at a kid at 17.
I had a kid at 17. Okay. So, yeah, that was difficult because I had to drop out of high school. She was born 5 months after 9/11, so there were no jobs.
Oh, wow.
There was no opportunities for me to really like come up because all the hustling shit was dead. Giuliani killed that shit. He was just like, nah, y'all, we could put in surveillance everywhere. So my family kind of moved out. I had a really big family, but everyone moved to Florida, and we really had to fend for ourselves.
Were your parents together?
No, my parents split up when I was 2. I didn't have a great relationship until about maybe 6 years ago.
With who?
Any of them.
Any, okay.
So it's just me.
But who'd you live with growing up?
My grandmother. My grandmother's apartment was like, she called it the do drop in because everybody from the street would just come in. They were hiding from the cops. Yeah. You came to 4B.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What kind of characters did you encounter as a child growing up in your grandmother's house?
Murderers, drug dealers, pimps, just like casual. It's like
casual. I don't know how casual that is.
That's like casual. Like my first arrest I've ever seen was in my living room with my cousin Ryan. Shout out to my cousin Ryan. He's the most gangster nigga I've ever seen in my life. That nigga, he's on a run. He's just always on a run. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about Ryan. Ryan, that nigga.
We heard about your gangster cousin Ronnie.
Ryan is a fucking gangster. Like all my cousins are. Like every other cousin is a career criminal. I shouldn't be saying that either. But it's true.
So what do you attribute your lifestyle of being on the straight and narrow to?
I barely made it, dog. Like, if it wasn't for karate, no, they say, no, rappers be like, yo, if it wasn't for this rap shit, yo, I'll be in your house robbing. That's how I feel about martial arts.
Really?
It's just like an anime. Anime just like completely, I needed something to cling to that was inspiring. So like Spider-Man, you know, I just resonated with that shit. I didn't have a male role model that wasn't hustling or doing something crazy. But my cousins kind of held me down too, but it was like fictional characters. It was like Goku. Like I started working out because I was watching Dragon Ball Z and I was like, oh, this motherfucker training like 100 times the Earth's gravity.
Yeah.
I'm on regular Earth gravity. How many push-ups can I do?
You're right.
And I just started pushing myself, and you know, I had a history of really bad illness, and I was at some point. Yeah, absolutely. At some point, I was in a wheelchair. My mom would.
Wait, what? I didn't know this about you. You know what I love about these interviews is I learn things about friends of mine. I've known you how long?
At least 10 years now. 11 years.
11 years.
11 years
and
now.
I had no idea you had illness. To me, I thought you were like, this guy's like a perfect physical specimen. He's always in shape. I'm trying to keep up with him.
Nah, man, you're in a spectacular shape, my friend. I think, yeah, man. So I had really bad asthma, and the living conditions that I was in was like just filthy. You know, like it was just, you know, whoever decided to came in and ruined the house. And it was just really hard for me to breathe. And sometimes my asthma would turn into viral pneumonia, which is very similar to the symptoms of COVID. Like basically your lungs get taken over and they don't know if you're going to live or die. I mean, I was on like all kinds of respirators and you know.
How old are you then?
From like the ages of like 6 to like 10, maybe, I was probably in and out of the hospital.
Were you like it seems like you were a frail child?
Yeah, I was extremely frail. So my cousins were all like 6'4", 250 pounds,
right.
like giant. I'm still the smallest person in my family.
Really? And you're 6'2", right?
I'm 6'2",
yeah.
200 pounds. And I'm still the smallest person in my family. My little brother is bigger than me.
I mean, at least you're 6'2".
At least I'm 6'2". Yeah. He's an awesome dude too. Shout out to Blake. That's my dude right there.
So did karate also help you with your physical ailments?
I think the psychological aspect of me pursuing knowledge on my own helped me recalibrate what I believed was possible for myself. Because Bruce Lee was, you know, he had the same issues I had. You know, he got kicked out of his house. He got into fights all the time. He had to leave, and then he had to come to America. Then America didn't fuck with him like that, so he went back to China. Then when he went to China, then America started fucking with him again, and then he dies. Right. You know, so I'm just like, okay, well, I just emulated everything that he did. I literally wrote down his regimen and did that every day.
Really?
Yeah, that's all I did.
So what was that regimen? How old were you then?
I had Liz at 17, so I was probably maybe like, you know, 13 years old when I started like experimenting with martial arts, because all my friends were into martial arts and like anime and like video games. And they would like fuck around in the park and like, you know, just like imitate people. Yeah. So I got like I took it really serious. Like I was not playing. I was like training and not telling them and like.
So you're kind of like, I'm envisioning exactly Bruce Leroy walking around with that hat on, and like.
That's now. Now I have to.
Right now you're wearing the hat. But I'm saying like he was kind of a nerd in the movie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end he became the cool guy because he was able to fight. He made something for himself. He got the girl. Yeah.
But like, I was scrawny, nerdy, just like, you know, it wasn't cool to be in an anime and be black. Like Afropunk did not exist yet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was at the first Afropunk in CBGB's. That shit was like, I was like, oh my God.
That was at CBGB's?
It was at CBGB's because they had like a movie first. Then they had the festival, but the festival came like a decade or so later. And I remember being at the first Afropunk. It was the most amazing feeling to be around people that like did martial arts or like was into alternative music, and it was all black and Latino and like Asian bands. Like it was just people of color, and like it was incredible. It was the last show I think I went to.
Was that the first time you felt like you found a culture that you fit into?
I mean, I felt like it's the first time I ever felt like. Because they weren't all looking for a culture. They were used to being the only one. Wherever they were the last dragon wherever they were at, right? Yeah. So all these last dragons showed up and was like, yo, real recognize real. I to this day, I get goosebumps thinking about it. To this day, I've never felt the camaraderie of like just alpha, positive energy. It was all like, you know, queer people were there and no one had there was no homophobia. There was no... and it was like masculine dudes there, and they were like, "Yo, if you say any shit about gay people, we'll fuck you up." And it was like that kind of energy always. I've always had that kind of energy, So I just had that, I just prioritize equality and openness, and all my life. So I was just lucky to be around that energy. Yeah. So it was just that's just who I am.
When was this? When was the CBGB's first
Afropunk was like, I would say 2009 maybe.
Oh, that was the first one then? I thought CBGB's, when did they close? I thought it closed before that.
No. I must have been like 20 years old.
Yeah.
So it must have been like 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, like 15 years ago.
It was probably a few years before I met you.
Yeah. I met you like in 2010, 2011.
Yeah. I remember when I met you.
I remember you too. I was like, this fucking promoter, like this fucking piece of shit.
That's
Fucking
not
other
what he
promoter.
said.
That's not what I said, but that's what I was thinking. I was like, it's
Really?
fucking, I hate promoters.
Oh, so do I.
You were the second person to say that to him.
Because fuck promoters. But then I realized
Not
being
wrong.
10 years, exactly, but 10 years in the game of like hanging out, going to parties. Now I'm hanging out with clients and they're taking me other places and shit. And I see their promoters. They have like a bunch of sub promoters and shit.
Yeah.
And seeing how they move compared to what Jeremy does.
Dude.
Jeremy's a fucking angel. He's an angel compared to what I saw in the griminess and the just like,
Well, for me,
it was wild.
it was definitely,
wild.
I definitely approached it as a full-on business.
You did.
Legitimately, I never did drugs. I barely ever drank.
Nope. Never seen you ever. You had to drive home.
I didn't have to. I wanted to.
You wanted to drive home.
I wanted to get home.
You had 2 drinks. That was it.
Yeah,
you never
if
were like
that.
this creepy motherfucker.
Yeah.
You never was like creeping on girls. You never were like, like these promoters are just grimy, like dirty ass people. And Jeremy is one of the most upstanding men I've ever met.
I
Like
give you
hands-
$100
like
bucks
hands
later.
down.
Thank you.
Like he brings his parents to the party. Sometimes, like his dad shows up to the party. You know what I'm saying? Like his mom shows. We all know his like his whole family. Like it's such it's so rare. Jeremy's so rare that.
Appreciate it. Well, I brought up when I first met you because not to talk about me because it's interviewing you. But
I was a little wild when we first met.
But no, actually no. I kind of felt like, you were a good dude. But I felt like you were kind of trying to find something.
Yeah.
You weren't the person I know now.
No.
You weren't even wearing the stuff that I feel like what you're wearing now. I feel like is an expression of how you feel, which is what people do when they wear clothes they want. You wore stuff that you kind of hoping to fit in.
Yeah, especially when I met Brian. Shout out to Brian Winston. There's gonna be a lot of shout outs.
Brian Winston is going to be interviewing with us as well.
Oh, he's supposed to be on my podcast as well, the Independent Trainer podcast as well.
Shout out. Where can people find that?
Spotify, YouTube.
Okay.
You
Is
know?
it? Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So Brian is how I know you. Is how I know
Yeah.
Jeremy and how I know a lot of people actually. He's the great conduit. He's the plug. Back then, but I think at that time I just had a huge fire in my home and I was homeless, and my grandmother just passed away, so I was kind of in a place where, I was in a transition where I didn't have a lot of people around me that were kind, and Brian Winston was the first person to actually show me like true kindness as a male friend, because Brian's 7 years older than me.
Yeah.
And he was like not like an older brother, but like just like in some ways he is, in some ways I help him out in some places. But he really put me on to like, he's like, yo man, he's the first person to be like, yo, you want to come to my house and watch the game? And I was like, why? I was like, why? He's like, cause like like you cool, like I fuck with you.
It's funny because a lot of I say men I wonder why another man might be nice to him.
Right.
So I remember one time, shout out to Adil. I haven't spoken to this dude in forever, but he's a friend of mine, a friend of Shoes. I know him through Shoe. And this is when I was still promoting parties, and I'm opening the door marquee to exit.
Okay.
And I hear a thump, and I look behind, and I see this dude like this. And I'm like, yo, you okay? You okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. So I go outside, and I come back in, and when I see him as I walk back in, he's like dripping blood.
Oh no.
So I'm like, I'm so sorry. I felt terrible.
Yeah.
So sorry, man. You exchange info. The next day I hit him up. Yo, you okay, man? I'm so sorry. Like anything I could do. I got a text from Shu laughing. I'm like, what's up, Shu? Because I texted Adil.
Right.
Adil texted Shu, say, yo, your boy Jeremy's real cool, but what's up? Is he gay? Why is he asking me like,
Right.
I was like, no, man, I'm not gay. Can I just ask if you're okay? Because I busted your head open with the door, but next time I'm just hit you with the door.
How about that?
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, Mel, it's a different time back then too. Like, I didn't fucking trust anybody. You're a wonderful person, and you always follow through and actually genuinely care about people, and I always appreciated that. I think, I was going through so much. I think around that time, the fire, my grandmother dying, I just got custody of my daughter.
Oh, wow. So you got custody of your daughter when you were homeless?
Yeah, around that time. They were rebuilding the house.
So what'd you say?
They gave us like a 1-bedroom apartment. So it was me, my brother, my daughter in a 1-bedroom apartment that they had already renovated.
Yeah.
And then
same building that you were in?
Same building, but it was tight. Mm-hmm. And
what were you doing for work at that time?
I was consolidating my personal training business. I was doing security. I was in nightlife, but I was slowly trying to get out of that. I was teaching karate on the side. I was doing bodyguard work on the side. So I had like 4 jobs. I had 4 jobs, man. I had all these I do whatever I had to do to make some cash. So it was it was tough time, but I was young, so I had the energy to do it. But after that, I was like, you know what? Training is what I always want to do. That's the only thing I ever wanted to do in my life was to train people.
Well, when I introduced you, I asked you how you want to be introduced, and I forgot the term.
Oh, it's a life performance optimization.
So that's obviously more than a personal trainer. What is it you do, and what makes it different from a personal trainer, a life coach, all that stuff?
It's a combination of those elements. It's because I realize in New York, their expectations for themselves are indicative of their perception of what they can accomplish, right? And when you're in the grind, you don't really think about that. You don't really think about what is actually possible for me to do. You think about what can I do right now? What are my facilities right now? What can I achieve on the day to day, which will lead me down the road to where I want to be. But when you are optimizing your life performance, everything that you do has increased in prosperity. It's about how you think about your life. Because for me, my performance is really bad in my life because I was just burning the candle at both ends because that's all I knew was how to hustle. And when you don't need to hustle anymore, but you're still in that hustle mode, it kind of eats away and erodes at your ability to work on what you're truly meant for. And that's what I do, is just help people achieve their higher self and live in that space. So when I speak to people, I'm speaking to their higher self, what their ideal self, what they visualize as their true being is. Not necessarily in a spiritual way, but like as your idealistic, a psychological way. Like, how do you see yourself if you accomplish all the things that you would have accomplished? What does that mean to you? Mm-hmm. When you delve into that, then people are inspired. Then people are ready to do whatever it takes to accomplish their goal. Because working out is a catalyst. It's not. Right. It's not going to get you happiness. Abs is not going to get you the girl that you're looking for. You know what I'm saying? A bigger butt is not going to get you the man that you're looking for. Your attitude and the way that you approach these things and the way that you approach your life is what's going to get you what you're looking for. So it's about how you perform out here. What controls out here in my environment? My beliefs. So I change. Sometimes you got to do a little flexibility with people's belief systems. And that's always a little sticky. And people, we're attached to our beliefs, whether they help us or not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You ever meet an unresourceful friend? You know what I mean? They're just like, nah, man, I can't. Nah, you don't know me. I can't do that, man.
I don't know if I can keep a friend like that.
Right.
I can't.
Right. It's hard.
Yeah.
You like, yo, bro, you mad nice. Like, nah, yo, nah. You believe in them more than they believe in themselves. Mm-hmm. And I
mean, in that case, like, I'm willing to help them out, but if it's really to the point where I'm fighting harder for them than they are for themselves, and it doesn't change, it depends. Like, I could keep a friend like that, but not if they're just got a dark cloud over them.
That's what it's like being a personal trainer.
Yeah. So would you consider? I mean, what you're doing is definitely helping them with the physical and mental, everything in their lives.
It's beyond that. The way I do it is, it's much more subtle. It communicates to the subconscious mind because that's what's really driving the bus.
Would you consider furthering your education and doing something like, I don't know, psychiatrist, psychologist, or even further than that, any sort of doctorate, master's to continue doing this?
I mean, I'm already doing it, but like I think that to get better at it, I just have to practice this more often, just like anything else. You know, I feel like I'm pretty successful at doing it because, you know, you got to really quantify what your success is first. Am I like, you know, changing people's patterns on the fly? Sometimes, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
Well, what changed your pattern from being a personal trainer with many other jobs, single dad, living in a one bedroom with family members?
Yeah.
To where you at now?
To traveling the world and
traveling the world. Actually, you just recently started traveling the world. Well, I'm proud of you. That's
Thank
awesome. It gives people different perspectives.
Yeah, it changed mine for sure.
Yeah.
I think to answer your question, I think that what changed my perspective was constantly pushing outward and going within when it came to my perspective of my reality.
Be more specific so people understand, because some people may not understand that terminology.
Okay. Well, when you talk to yourself, what kind of tonality are you using when you are describing your goals and aspirations?
Give me an example of some tonalities, positive and negative.
When you're in a jam, are you saying, fuck, I gotta fucking get this thing done, man, let's go. Okay, I can't fucking fail. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening again. That tonality is helpful in some contexts. If you're in a basketball game and that rouse you up and to make you perform like Kobe, then go right ahead.
I think that has to be the initial, but that's not what's going to get you succeed, even on the basketball court.
Right.
If I'm facing an opponent that's giving me a hard time, that might be my initial response. But after that, I'm all right. I'm going to do whatever I can.
Right.
That's the attitude, right? You're talking about?
I'm talking about but universally, it's different. Some people do respond to the Kobe. Like Kobe was like that. Kobe was like, what the fuck? The fuck? Mike was like, what the fuck? Because they're like, you know, they're kind of borderline sociopathic and obsessive about what they're doing.
You have to be that great.
You don't have to be. You don't have to be obsessive though, because not everybody
you have to have traits of that. So in order to be, maybe I'm wrong. You tell me.
That's a belief. That's exactly
my
that's
belief, my belief
right.
Is
right.
You have to have, maybe not, you know, to the point where you can be diagnosed sociopathic.
Right.
But you have to have slight obsessive traits or obsessive. Maybe that's the wrong word because passion. Your passion has to be so strong that you are willing to do anything you can to win, right?
I would agree that is the case. However, not everyone is built that way, even about the things that they love. Like I'm obsessive about watching fighting, right? I love fighting.
Right.
But I wasn't prepared to relinquish the path I had to take for my daughter for me to keep pursuing fighting. Because a lot of fighters have. I know a lot of gifted fighters out there that have kids scattered all over the fucking place and was just like, yo, I love fighting. This is what I do. There's plenty of them. But I knew that I couldn't sacrifice that over my kid. So there's this duality, you know, within me that is just like, yo, what is most important to me? And that dialogue can't have the same tonality as that Kobe Bryant.
Right.
Yo, what the fuck are you doing? Come on. That's not going to be constructive for me personally.
Right.
And I think what that means, how I changed that was listening to the dialogue and the tone that I was using for myself to be the most productive.
Who told you to listen to that tone? Like, how did you realize that's what I have to listen for?
Because I was just listening to myself. I was able to put myself in this, like, what's called a meta position, where you're observing oneself in a particular context so that you can observe without judgment. That's the key to changing things.
Right.
If you can observe what you're doing without judging yourself, you're more likely to act on that inkling and that feeling. But if you're constantly judging everything that you do, that produces anxiety, and then you kind of immobilize yourself.
So when would you say you actually changed your way of thinking and became able to see your thought process from an outside perspective? I mean, obviously that's what you said, change, but when did this take place?
It takes place constantly.
No, I'm saying, when did that initially take place to make the change in your...
I think when I was about 17. When I was 17, I made a choice that I was going to take my life in my own hands. At one point, my daughter was gone. She was born when I was 17, and then she just vanished. Her mom took her somewhere, and a year and a half later, she reappears. So for 5 months, I'm like working at this job I hate, but I get to see my daughter. Like, I'm good. And then another day, she just vanishes again. And I was heartbroken, and I lost my job, and I was living at my mom's at the time. And she kicked me out because she was just like, yo, I need to have time with my husband. Like, I'm tired of just raising kids all the time. I'm like, all right, but I kind of need help. And the only reason I'm hanging out here is because I need to, like, look for a job. Like,
Right.
I need to use a computer and shit. And she was just like, nah, I'm done. She was unresourceful, and I was in a place myself, so I just left. And one day, I just checked myself into Bellevue. I just couldn't. I was like, I don't have any resources anymore. I'm in a bad place. Nobody gives a fuck about me, or at least I thought. So I just checked myself into Bellevue one day. And
was it? What was the main reason you checked in? Was it suicidal thoughts?
I just
Or just
I don't know if I wanted to kill myself, or I just felt like I just didn't feel like anything mattered anymore. I was like, what am I going to do? No one gives a fuck. Why should I care? Like, the most unresourceful
Thought process.
And tonality, the darkest hole you could possibly be in, because I just didn't have any control over my own life. I get there and I'm waiting. I'll go through the whole process. They were really nice at first, and then they just sit me in this room next to some guy in a gurney, and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for them to admit me. And an hour goes by, 2 hours go by, 3 hours go by, 4 hours go by, 5 hours go by, and no one comes. No one comes to admit me. So then I leave. I said, I got to figure this out on my own. And that was it. After that, I was like, I'm going to rely on myself. And then I just started studying and practicing different art forms of psychology and therapy, and just going through like trial and error processes of how to talk to myself, I was into self-help way before it was like super cool.
Right.
Because I needed it, you know? Yeah, before Instagram and self-care. Like, I was doing all of that before it was popping, because I needed to survive. I was, 17 in the street, 19 years old in the street. Is like, what are you going to do? And it's tough when your friends don't really share your vision for that. All my friends from that time are doing exactly the same shit they were doing during that time.
Yeah.
Bams
and I got friends like that we grew up with who do the same thing.
Yeah, man. And I still live in the same block too, so I see them.
Yeah.
And that's painful for me. I gotta, it just hurts. It's like, damn, man, we were supposed to make this shit together, dog. Like, and they were way more talented than me. They were way more talented than me. Think I'm a dope martial artist. I'm a black belt. I'm a champion, all that shit. But these dudes were like my heroes, and they just became nothing. Like, it's just like, what the fuck, dude? So that fucks with me when I run into them and I see them, or I see them from afar. Yeah. But that's what changed my mindset, was like feeling like I was broken, but realizing like, nah, yo, on the other side of that is always a breakthrough. Every time. You just got to hang in there.
All right, we're going to start going to some more specific questions right now.
Cool.
Unless you want to keep on going on this path.
Nah, man,
I feel like what you just spoke about is how you've, correct me if I'm wrong, but gotten yourself to where you are now. It's been constant progress since you took things into your own hands.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen a great amount of progress since we first met.
Thank you.
Like, I feel like you've come into your own.
Thanks. I mean, I'm just a little bit more of myself,
Mm-hmm. The process continues, right?
The process continues, and who knows what's coming around the corner,
Well, speaking of which, what are your goals and dreams?
My goal is to galvanize the fitness industry. I want to raise the standard for personal training, because we do more than that. And we already are people's therapists. People rather talk to their trainer than their therapist. Why not give personal trainers the skills to actually deal with that and not have to take that shit home with them?
Very true.
You feel me?
What's interesting, I don't mean to cut you off, that's a great point, but fun fact, when I was in college, I played basketball in college, but the only job I could have
personal training.
Was personal training. And I was personal training in college.
Mm-hmm.
5 a.m. to 9 a.m., 2 or 3 times a week. And I remember the morning of 9/11, I think it was the next day or the day after, I had a client session.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't work out at all. We just sat down outside and talked the whole time.
That's right.
And that was a session. But like, there's been many times where I had to take clients, and this is back then. And honestly, I shouldn't have been doing it, because I was a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I was just letting an ear for them to vent, but at the same time, I wasn't trying to give them advice. I was just listening.
Right. That's right.
But just sitting down, hearing them. I had some clients that had body dysmorphia issues about, you know, how they looked and getting discouraged about not getting where they wanted to be and so on. They're putting in the work, but I didn't, you know, who knows what their diet was, whatever it be.
Precisely. That's it.
Yeah.
That little gray area is exactly where personal training needs to be stepped up. You can learn all the programs, get certified, great. But if you don't know how to listen for what people are really needing from you at that time, you could have, you know.
I agree, but I think it should be part of the certification. Like, I got to say, getting certified as a personal trainer, for me, it was a joke. It was a weekend course.
Yeah.
It was
I mean, it's still a joke.
It's a joke. Like, anyone could do that.
Right.
I think you're onto something as far as getting them more well-versed beyond their knowledge of the anatomy and human movement, but also on psychology and how they can be helpful, you know, for mental well-being.
Right.
You know?
Because that's where the real change is.
Yeah.
You got the first, you know, I talked about influence in the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah.
The way that influence works with your client is like this. They hire you, but this is the only profession where they'll hire you and just not listen to a fucking thing that you're saying. You ever go to a dentist and you're like, yo, man, you need to do X, Y, and Z. You're like, all right, bet. I'm going to go home and do that so I can keep my teeth.
Right.
Personal trainer's like, yeah, man, you got to do this, this, and that. They're like, yeah, okay. And then peace out. Next week, hey, man, when we had that talk?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I remember, but, you know, that shit tastes good. Or like,
there's
their coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Until you address the real issue, their stress triggers and the reason why they're reaching in that bag for treats, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever it is, you'll continue to have the same problem. The problem with this is you can't address it directly. You can't be like, yo, man, so let's talk about your sex addiction.
Right.
Oh, yeah, by the way, you got 5 more. You got 5 more reps. Like, that's not how you can do that. So you got to be a lot more subtle by listening to how their reality is shaped and like how they, what I mean by listening to someone's reality is how they describe it. When you talk about yourself, you're using one of 3 languages: a visual language, kinesthetic language, touching, a feeling, or an auditory language. Right? What does that sound like to me? That looks like, when you ask me, what does that look like to you? That means you personally are probably a visual person when it comes to addressing your future. You can see it.
Yeah.
Right? You can see it. I hear that by how you're communicating to me.
Yeah.
Having those skills are paramount to being a coach. Because then you're not, you know, I'm not speaking Chinese to you when you're trying to speak Persian to me, when you're trying to speak, you know, Arabic to me, when you're trying to speak French to me, when you're trying to, you know what I'm saying? So if I'm listening to you, I can really relate. I can really connect with my client. And that's what it's really about.
I think that's the case with a client's not any relationship.
Any
right?
relationship. Yeah.
So it's benefited you in your personal relationships too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. All my relationships are pretty amazing because I can listen. And I think the people that are in my life, like my daughter, I mended all of my relationships with my parents. Like I love my dad. My dad was never there when I was born, you know, most of my development. But he's there now. And I love that dude. My mom, you know, gave me fucking hell most of my, and I love my mom. I'm so proud of my parents. But this is based on, I've mended every relationship that has given me issues because of the skill set of listening to their reality and meeting people where they're at, as opposed to.
Well, it comes down to seeing some outside of your own perspective and seeing their perspective.
Right.
And seeing why they behave they do, why they took those actions or decided to take those actions, right? Because they all have their own reasons.
That's right.
You might not be able to see it because you're not in their shoes, but if you could take yourself out of yours, that's when you get.
Exactly. It's not always about us.
Most times it's not.
It's not about us.
I mean,
even though we make it personal. Seeing. A lot of visual language in there, in case you guys are listening.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah, very visual, in multiple contexts.
Yeah.
That's another thing. It's not like horoscopes where like, oh, I'm a Virgo, so I'm a perfectionist. That's not how that shit works. It's bullshit. Like the way your language works depends on context.
Right.
Right? If I'm talking about goals, aspirations, things that are not necessarily real yet, you particularly like visualizing it first, that makes it real. You visualize outside.
I can see the steps.
You can see the, right, okay. More visual language, see? Yeah. Now, if I change the context to like, what kind of woman are you interested in? How would you describe that? Oh, well, she probably makes me feel.
Yeah, I would say definitely more feeling related. Yeah. I mean, I definitely have. I know what I would like her to look like, of course, but what's more important is how I would feel.
Right.
Yeah.
That criteria changes, right? Depending on the context. And that's what we got to listen for, too. That's why it's so important to listen to people. It's like, okay, Jeremy's visual, and I explain something else to you visually, and you're like, I don't get it. Because it's not the context that meets the needs. I'm just going to hit this thing over. Just going to keep hitting this thing. But yeah. Next question, sir.
The next question I think you pretty much answered throughout the whole conversation so far is what motivates you to keep pursuing your dreams.
What motivates me before, this is very interesting. My last podcast episode, I talked about my daughter because she was my prime motivation for everything. And now I have to search within to find something else because I don't know if I have the motivation, that same fire as I did to continue my dreams and my goals when I first started. When I first started, I was like, oh, my daughter needs to get to college. And now I'm like, oh, she's in college now. It's like, okay, like what now what?
That's interesting. So, I mean, you seem to have the same passion, but you have to find the
I got to find motivation. That, like, yo, if I didn't have that, like, gun to my head, man. When you met me, I had that gun to my head mentality. Like, yo.
So are you nervous that you don't have that gun to your head right now? Like,
I'm not nervous, but I'm like, should I be relaxed about it? Or do I need better techniques? Do I need to surround myself with people who better suit what I'm looking for in my life? Like, what do I need to do to enhance my life performance? What do I desire out of life? But then I thought about it. I'm like, yo, I'm fucking already doing it. Right. I'm traveling. I'm going to Africa next week again. Yeah. And I just came back from Vegas with some really cool friends and clients of mine and had a time that you couldn't pay for. You couldn't buy the experience that I had.
I gotta go to Vegas with you because I hate Vegas.
I hate Vegas too, but when you go with the right motherfucking people, that shit is legit. I'm hanging out with Jake Paul. Yeah. He was actually pretty relaxed. Yeah. You know, like it was like, all right, like super cash, like you know. And then I'm gonna regret saying super cash in like 10 years when I listen to this podcast.
Use that clip in the highlight, please.
Oh my God, super cash, you guys. Oh my God, just super. No, it's fine. Just super cash. Yeah, so that's what I don't know. I don't know. My motivation is to change this fitness industry because I want to see my industry thrive. I want to see personal trainers get fucking paid finally, and I want personal trainers to be happy. It's very.
You think about starting a union of sorts for personal trainers?
That is the goal. I didn't want to
work 12 hours a day.
So you don't have to work 12 hours a day, but it's an independent trainers union. So everybody at Equinox. See, that's another thing. Like when you are talking about independent trainers, they work for themselves. Yeah. And if you unify those people, those are the people that really run this industry. People that work for Equinox, they're stealing from that company, but they're getting clients on the side. Right. There's a certain mentality that someone that stays with Equinox, that stays with New York Sports Club or whatever, those type of people, they enjoy being a part of that machine because it gives them that gratification of climbing that corporate ladder, right? I'm not talking about them people. I'm talking to the people that want to make $100K a year their first year and still be happy and have time to go do shit they want to do and go sunbathe on the roof deck in the middle of the week if they feel like it because their pockets are good. I want to talk to people that are paying their taxes on time, which is another thing. You know, some people just don't do that shit or stack their money up and invest. I'm going to create a whole organization that helps trainers, new, old, in the middle, to do all those things and live a fulfilling life and formulate an end game strategy. Because, you know, like Brian Winston, he just said, I'm out and retired like Jordan. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm out. You know, you want some clients? Yo, Garnett's nice or Max or whatever. Like he just gave his clients out and said, I'm not doing that anymore. That's not an end game strategy. Right. An end game strategy is, hey, is a smooth transition.
Agreed.
You feel me? Because you just translated from nightlife into outsiders.
But I've been doing outsiders for 5 years.
You've been doing outsiders for 5 years now. Yeah. And then COVID hit, you were like, oh. Yeah. Peace.
Yeah, but people are like, that's amazing. You were able to find something.
Find.
I've been doing this for 5 years.
Right.
Oh, 5 years? I didn't know that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But then, like, eventually, this is what you're going to be known for, is, you know, because at a certain point, you'll be doing this for the amount of time that you've been doing nightlife. Yeah. And you're almost there. You're halfway there to that timeline, and
a third there.
A third there. Mm-hmm. So you've been doing nightlife like 15 years, but like you're not Jeremy, the nightlife dude anymore. It's apparent.
No, it's funny because I talk to some people from the Outsiders now. They don't know me from back then.
Right.
And I was talking to this one girl. She was like, "Oh, you used to do nightlife?" I heard, "Yeah." I was like, and she looks at me like I have two heads.
Right. Like you?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah,
like, you don't even know.
You don't even know, dog. We never saw Jeremy in the daylight.
Oh, yes, you did.
I did, because we hung out. Like,
yeah, exactly. But some people didn't know I had salt and pepper hair. Like,
right.
I saw you at the club. I didn't know you had gray hair. I'm like,
better recognize
the lights are flashing and there's a disco ball. That's why.
Exactly. And you were fucked up, probably.
They were, yeah.
They were probably fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Can't miss this silver fox.
No.
Come on,
God
baby.
Forbid.
God forbid, baby. Come on now.
So you've been part of the Outsiders. You've been to a couple Outsiders.
I've been to the first ones.
Yeah.
Ever.
What's your favorite part of the Outsiders?
I like how cool everybody is. I like how diverse it is. I like the energy of the people that are there usually. And usually I know everybody there because they've been partying with you for a long time.
Originally it was. Now it's kind of been, it's definitely beyond just the people that came out.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. I'm really proud of you. I also like that you're connected to it. I feel like the success of the Outsiders is because everyone really, really fucks with your energy. That's something that's so hard to do. I feel like I could never start a community at that capacity. That's the final level for me.
I have to be honest. What I'm most proud of is that I get to the Outsiders event the morning of adventure. We call them adventures, and sometimes people have no idea who I am, which is great.
Wow,
it means I created a brand. You're not coming for me.
Right.
Bams, how are we doing on time? Gotcha. All right, so we'll start wrapping up a little bit. But I have a couple questions I want to ask you before.
Yeah.
What is your most embarrassing moment?
My most embarrassing moment?
You've had a few because we've hung out for a long time.
I mean, you've probably been there for quite a few of them, yeah. What would you say? What was an embarrassing moment that you witnessed from me?
I don't know. I mean, I can't remember what I did last weekend.
An embarrassing moment. It depends on the context. I've been knocked out in a fight.
That's not embarrassing.
That's.
I mean, I guess that is embarrassing, yes, but it's not if you're looking at it's part of the sport.
It's part of the sport, but like it was over something stupid, like listening to dumb advice. But it's my fault. It's my fault. I should have. It's me in the ring. Mm-hmm. But what is the embarrassing? Embarrassing.
You don't have any?
I mean, I just don't get. You know what?
You don't get embarrassed.
Not getting embarrassed is a superpower. Ask Donald Trump. Like, you know what I'm saying?
He's embarrassing.
He's embarrassing to be around.
Yeah.
But I got to give you something. Oh, fuck. Let me.
Well, I'm going to ask you one more question.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll think about it.
Well, is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to tell the audience about yourself?
I'm sorry? Say that one more time.
Is there anything you'd like to tell the audience that I haven't asked you about yet?
Ladies, no, I'm just kidding. I think I think what I look like doesn't represent necessarily how I feel. I don't think that that's a thing that people really pick up on.
In the sense where intimidation or.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned intimidation first.
Because I would assume that because you're an MMA fighter, right?
No, that's not why people are intimidated by me. I think people are intimidated by me because I dress in black a lot. I've heard various
bracelets and so on.
I did. I haven't done that in a long time. I just think that people, they just look at you and they see it's a mirror of their internal representation of what you represent. We're not looking at Jeremy. We're looking at everything that has ever looked like Jeremy, at the same time in the back of our mind. So we're just trying to piece together these association pieces, right? And that's what it is. I just don't look like I'm me. Come get to know me and talk to me.
That's fair. That's a fair request.
Yeah.
So we end every interview with 5 rapid fire questions.
Cool. I'm ready.
You know how that works? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Favorite city other than New York City?
Toronto. Yeah.
Right,
I'll be back, baby. I'll be back over there. So they open that border up.
I'm coming with you.
You know what time it is to go. You know what time it is when they come to Toronto.
It's not really a rapid fire question.
You know what happens.
So say yes or no.
I'm sorry? One more time.
I say it's not really a rapid fire type of question. It's more a conversation question, but I want to ask you with a yes or no response.
Okay, gotcha. Okay?
Would you have another child if you met the right woman?
Absolutely. I want 4 more. I'm gonna name them after me and my brothers.
Okay.
Yes.
Hip hop or metal?
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Hip hop.
Okay.
Even though my Desert Island album is Tool Lateralis. I mean, that's common knowledge, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tool?
Yeah, it's my favorite band ever.
Some of the best videos ever, too.
I mean, yeah. I mean, dude.
Still
No one
motion,
likes
still
Tool
motion.
casually. They're just like,
Yeah.
bro, have you... What? It's yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, no one's casually liking Tool. Anyway.
If you could fight anyone, past or present, who would it be?
Donald Trump, Colby, Covington. I'd like to fight. He's fighting Kamaru Usman next. I can't wait for that one. I'd like to fight any fascist, any...
what's your workout club? Your fight club?
yeah,
Shout that out.
the Antifa fight club.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have an anti-Nazi fight club. So fuck all you Nazis, homophobic, transphobic, racist, misogynistic motherfuckers out there. I will body you. Please come see me. If you ever have some on the internet, I don't give a fuck who you are. Come see me. Anyway.
That's on the real right there.
That's for real.
Last question. What's your favorite food?
Well, I actually have it here now.
What did you get?
Husla.
I'm hungry. What is it?
Husla. It's
Tell me what it is. And where is it from?
It's from Forget Me Not, my like headquarters.
All right.
It's like my home away from home. There's a little syrup here because it's basically French toast bites with a little bit of fruit. So maybe you can see it. It's kind of slid around a little bit, but maybe you can see. It still smells really good. So yeah, it's like little strawberries, little blueberries, and some syrup.
Very nice.
You know, so we got that out
I
here.
want to taste some of this.
Yeah, man.
Should I?
After a bike ride, there's a bike shop right next to Forget Me Not. So like y'all can post up after an Outsiders event and literally just pop in there
And have French toast.
and have beer and
Beer and French toast.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I got you a little fork action.
Yeah, give me a little fork action and a little
I like
syrup.
to dip. I like to get.
Yeah, well, if it's bites, you got to dip the bites.
I mean, you gotta dip. Some people are savages, man. They just kind of go crazy.
No, if it's bites, you dip the bites.
This is a sensible man.
Yeah.
This is a sensible man. Well, are we gonna eat this now?
Oh, yeah, I want to.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, baby.
All right,
Okay.
here we go. You brought this. I'm eating it. All right.
Yeah, man. Get some of the
Am I on
strawberries.
camera?
Yes.
All right.
Some of the strawberries in there too,
got a
baby.
strawberry
You got a
in
strawberry in there? I'm sorry. I don't mean to dictate your eating. Right? It's so good.
All right.
I wish I could eat this now, but I'm on a diet. I gotta go to Africa and have abs and post on social media that I'm living the best life.
Don't
I've
worry.
ever had. Look at me in Africa. I'm so hungry.
I'll eat them. All right.
For pennies a day, you can support Garnett's habits.
On that note, there's some French toast I got to eat, but I want
Yeah.
to thank you for being part of this interview. I got to do your podcast eventually when I get the invite.
You do.
Let me know.
The Independent Trainers Podcast on
Let's do it.
Spotify, Google Play, and on YouTube. There's full video and everything. You guys will love it. It's
And I
more
think
to this.
this union idea for freelance personal trainers is great. Let me know how it can help you.
Thank you. I would love that. I'm researching unions now. It's gonna fuck the whole fitness industry up a little bit because it's gonna get the power back to the people that actually run it, the trainers. And I can't wait to execute this. So
Well, maybe we'll have to have you back on the show when that's taking place. We'll talk about it.
yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm hungry. And it's time to go. So thank you very much, G.
Bye, Jeremy.
Bye.